I'll be able to hang in there.
What was the injury?
On my knee.
What's going on, guys? It's Justin, back with another video. So there's been a lot of public talk about the Packers adding a wide receiver lately, so I wanted to take some time to analyze the wide receiver room as a whole and go one by one and give my thoughts and opinions on each player and decide whether adding a wide receiver in the offseason makes sense or not. First, let's talk about Christian Watson. I want to start out by saying that he has been the most important wide receiver on this team over the last few seasons. He's so dynamic and he opens up everything else. Defenses will always have to pay attention for him or else he's going to run right by you. I'm not sure if it's a coincidence or not, but the passing offense always seems to take a step down when he's not on the field. But the major issue with Christian is that he cannot stay on the field. The past few seasons he had hamstring issues, but worked hard in the offseason to get that resolved, and he very well might have. But he missed a game with an ankle injury this season after Love threw him a hospital ball, and then he tore his ACL in the regular season finale. And please don't ask me what I think about the coaching decision to have him play. I could go on a whole nother rant about that. I think Watson is definitely a part of the future of this team, but you basically can't bank on having him for any point in the next season. If he comes back late in the year, that's awesome, great for you, but you can't assume that's the case. The Packers need to replace what he can do. Also, Christian's contract is up following the 2025 season. I think they do re-sign him, but there's always a question on how explosive he is post-ACL injury. I'm definitely rooting for him though, and would like to see him in a Packers uniform long term. So I have some very strong opinions on Romeo Doubs. As a player, he's fine. He makes some real good catches sometimes, but he also drops some real easy ones. But this whole wide receiver room does have drop problems, unfortunately. Doubs' performance in the Cowboys divisional playoff game last year was awesome, and I'm never going to forget it. However, the issue I have with Romeo is the fact that he whined about his involvement in the offense and skipped out on a practice without saying anything to anyone. I find this remarkably inexcusable. If Bill Belichick was the head coach, he would have been traded the next day, but we know it's Matt LaFleur and he's a bit soft. I still think Romeo should be traded. Again, he's fine as a player, but definitely not good enough to be acting like that. Regardless of your opinion on that behavior, we do need to factor in his concussions. He got 2 concussions this past season. One of them required him to miss 2 games, and the other occurred in the Eagles' playoff loss, so we really don't know the extent of that injury. You have to consider this from a roster building perspective. His contract is also up after the 2025 season, and I'm less convinced that they re-sign him. Jayden Reed is the most dynamic wide receiver on the team. He had a great start to the 2024 season, but then kind of tapered off as the year went on. And there are a number of reasons that contributed to that. Some of them are his fault, or others aren't. First, he was one of the top leaders in drops across the entire NFL this past season. Not good. I also think Romeo complaining changed how targets got distributed. Reed got less as the season went on. The offense also had an identity change, turning to running the ball more, which is fine and it worked out. Though I think Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love need to make a conscious effort to get Jayden Reed the ball more, especially on the pop passes, screens, and short passes. Let him run after the catch, prioritize his targets, and I think he should be a Packer for the foreseeable future. Dontavian Wicks is another intriguing wide receiver on the roster. He showed a ton of promise his rookie year, but failed to live up to the hype this past season. He was very good at getting open, but was amongst the drop leaders in the NFL, much like Jayden Reed. You'd like to think that if he gets this fixed, he should have a solid career as a wide receiver in the NFL, but unfortunately, some guys never get the drop issues fixed. I hope he does. I'm rooting for him. I was a big fan of him coming into this past season, and I will never forget the touchdown versus Stephon Gilmore in the Dallas playoff game last year. I think you expect Wicks to make a jump in year 3, especially with Christian Watson out. So next year is a big year for Dontavian Wicks. If he could show that he's more valuable than guys like Romeo Doubs, then that could see Romeo on his way out and Wicks getting an extension. Moving on to Bo Melton, he's a free agent this offseason, and he had a very promising end to the 2023 season. He was the Packers' first 100-yard receiver in that season, coming way back in Week 17. He caught a touchdown in the 49ers playoff game in the divisional round, but unfortunately he did almost nothing this past season, just a few end arounds. I expected him to be a bit more involved, but he just wasn't. He can fly, he's a speedy guy, but I don't think he does enough of what Watson does to be able to replace him. I imagine the Packers just let him walk. And personally, I don't love small wide receivers, and you already have one on the roster in Jaden Reed. So good luck, Bo. I will always root for you, but I just think your time with the Packers is up. Malik Heath is the last wide receiver I want to talk about today. I am a big fan of his frame. He's 6'2", he's got long arms. He could go upstairs and grab a jump ball. But according to Matt LaFleur, he ran a bad route in the Eagles' playoff game, resulting in one of the interceptions, and he also slipped coming out of his break at the goal line and took a touchdown off the board. This stuff needs to be fixed if he wants to be a major player in this offense. I wanted to see more of him later in the season last year to give some spark to the offense, but we didn't really see much of that, and I think he just takes the number 5 receiver spot next year. So, should the Packers add a wide receiver in this offseason? I feel like the answer is pretty obvious. Yes, they should. But the question is more of who should they target rather than if they should target someone. If they want to stay on the cheaper side and just get a Christian Watson replacement, I think MVS makes a ton of sense. He's cheaper than the other top receivers available. He's been in the offense before. He's shown he's still a deep threat, and he can do enough blocking in the run game. However, if they are willing to spend more, I think there are 3 names that stand out: Davante Adams, T. Higgins, and DK Metcalf. Davante, this is an obvious one. He's been on the team before. He knows the offense. Matt LaFleur trusts him. But you will probably need to pay about $20 million a year for the next couple years. He is on the older side. He's a proven alpha that demands targets, and if you need a 3rd and 5, Davante will always get you that 3rd and 5. As far as T. Higgins go, you're going to have to pay more. This could be $25 to $30+ million a year. He is a young player and would be a cornerstone for the team over the next few seasons. And he could do just about everything, but he has dealt with some injuries over the past couple years, so that is something to look out for. DK Metcalf should be a bit cheaper than T. Higgins, but you would have to trade for him to acquire him, so that requires giving up some other assets. He is young and would be part of the team for the foreseeable future, and just like T, he could do just about everything, and he is less injury prone than T. So DK is probably my favorite option to go after. I do want to see Davante back, but if you want to go with someone that's a bit younger, DK is my pick. That's all for this video. I could have went more in depth into each potential wide receiver option, but I didn't want the video to be much longer. Let me know if you guys want me to dive into that. And let me know what you also think about the Packers' current wide receivers and some of the potential other options that are available.